Ben's bio and read it because I can't.
Because you can't. Okay, before we get started, I want to thank Ben Peter, and we will now and later as well, but I want to really thank Lily for finding this jewel for us to watch and for using her Hebrew skills and reaching out to Ben Peter, which I would not have been able to do in that initial reach out. So Lily, thank you so much. Yes, I will be happy to. Give me just one
And
moment.
we need the name and address of the store again?
I think
too?
it's on, the information's on our website.
Oh, okay,
All of the information and how you could go shop at the store even.
okay. On the Tifereth website?
Yep, on today's event. It is there. And if for any reason you can't find it,
Okay,
reach out to me and I will get it to you.
Yes, I think Ellen bought some of the coffee table books from Prior for the library.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
here
so
we go.
we're going to get started.
Ben, thank you.
Ben Peter Weisenstein is the successor and the manager of the Photo House, the oldest photo shop in Tel Aviv, established by the photographer Rudy Weisenstein in 1936, and one of the leading private photo archives in Israel today. Ben began working with his grandmother Miriam Weisenstein in 2005 and gradually learned from her the secrets of this unique archive and the art of photography. In addition, Miriam and Ben participated in a documentary film called Life in Stills, winner of the Ophir Academy Award 2012, following which Ben is giving lectures and continues to worldwide. Ben's mission is to preserve the life work of his grandparents through preservation, research, and the creation of new products and marketing, and make it accessible and appealing to younger generations. Since he took the family business upon his shoulders, he has published books, catalogs, and produced several exhibitions of Rudy Weisenstein's work, distributing the history of the Jewish state around the world. Ben currently lives in Jaffa with his partner Ophir and their 2 children. And I'm going to turn this over now to Lily.
Thank you, Beth. Ben, Toda. We are so honored to have you here. Can you, if you're here, people, can you turn on your squares, please? Can you turn on your cameras for us, if possible? Just, it's nice to see who, thank you very much. We have thank you, Susan. At your convenience, just say hi. All right, so Ben, and as Beth said, it's an honor to have you here. I actually read the article in the Hadassah magazine, or no, Jerusalem Report magazine, with you jumping and recreating Miriam's famous pose. And there was was Jerusalem Report, and I went back to Beth and said, and I read the article about you and the film, and that's how we found you. So we're really honored. So I have some questions, and then we'll open it up to the public. How were you approached to do this film, and what was your first reaction when the producer and writer approached you?
Okay, so it goes back more than, I think, like 17 years ago.
Okay.
My grandma Miriam, she used to run this place on her own after my grandfather Rudy died. And she did that for 20 years. Then one day, a young director came to her. She was still a student, and she asked her if she can do her final movie project on her for the school, like a 20-minute short film. And my grandma refused. She told her that she's too famous for a student to make a project on her. She was in the radio, she was in the newspapers. She took out from her drawer old papers, and she showed her how famous she was. And she said, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. It's like below my honor or something. And then Tamar Tal, the director, she was very, very disappointed. And she went to the door and she waved her like goodbye. And my grandma told her, so when are you start filming? And that was like the first time she understood that my grandma was a little bit feisty and playing with her around. So she started to document her for a few years, and that movie became a great success. It's a short film. It appears on our DVD. It's called The Iron Lady, and it's an amazing short film because it's describing her in the shop alone, how she treats the customers, how she's so not politically correct, and how she was so motivated to run this place. During those years, I wasn't a part of the photo house, and I was an art student and worked in computers in a cellular company. And the only connection I had with my grandma was like her from time to time, coming to say hi, and like regular grandchild. Then we had our family tragedy, and I lost my parents. She lost her daughter, my mom. And after the first shock, like I think it was like a year or so afterwards, she and I became very close to each other. And that was, I think, on a like emotional basis. I think we looked for the lost connection, and we found each other. Like in simple words, we just found each other. And this was the time that Tamar Tal, the director, was still around, and she catched that. She saw something that we even didn't see. And she came to me one day and she asked me, listen, I want to do a full-time film on the shop, on your grandma. I want to continue the short film that I've made as a student. Now I'm not a student anymore. And I'd like to include you in that film because I see that you're starting to work in the photo house, and I feel something important is going on here. And would you agree to participate in my film? And for me, it was a big honor because I thought, why should someone take interest in my life? And I saw her short film. I saw how successful it was, and I thought, what? Hi.
Zoom.
So I thought,
Someone's
It's
coming
Zoom.
on. I'll mute them.
Zoom.
mute them all. And I'm just kidding. So that for me, that was like an opportunity, and I was 28, and I felt very like connected to the place, to my grandma, and committed to this project. And I think after, all in all, it took her 7 years to collect the raw materials and edit them to the film that you've all seen. In those years, both my grandma and me went through a lot, and I always felt that I'm devoted to her, to Tamar's, to the project, to her documentation, and I was always open and willing to cooperate with her, even though it was sometimes very, very uncomfortable. For example, her coming to our house like 2 hours before I have to leave abroad for the exhibition. And you all know, before you pack and before you leave the house, you leave your partner, everything is a little bit more stressed, and still I had to let her in, and also let her in my Memorial Day in the cemetery with all the family, against their will maybe, but still bringing her there, thinking this is important for you to document, and also escorting my grandma and guiding her to be open, to let Tamar in our most private moments, as you've seen in the film. So for me, it was like a mission that I took upon myself. I don't know exactly why. I just remember that I felt honored and challenged, and I thought I should just do it. That was it. That was the reason that I agreed to become a part of this project, and those years was like amazing. And I'm so happy that she documented them. I feel so lucky because, you know, this was my life anyways, even if she wasn't there with the camera. So now I have all these memories in tapes and, you know, files, and I don't know, it was like a super sensitive time in my life and in my grandma's life. And I think that's what people feel when they watch the film, because it's not something that you can maybe put your finger on it. It's like a general atmosphere, maybe like a crucial moment in people's life. We all have these crucial moments, but not all of us have someone recording them, you know?
Thank you. That's really a beautiful and honest answer. And you've answered a lot of our questions. So as a child, what was your relationship with your grandmother and grandfather? And as a child, what did you think of their business, the Pre-Or Photo House? Yeah, I mean, because you're a kid, you didn't, I mean,
Right.
were you aware of the significance of the 1 million negatives?
No, I
Tell us
wasn't. The first
about
time,
the kid.
so the first time I was aware for the significant of the archive and the body of work that my grandfather left behind him was many years after he passed away. I think it was like 10 years after he was gone already. And both my mom and my grandma made a huge exhibition in Tel Aviv. This was the first retrospective exhibition anyone has done about my grandfather. And I think it was the biggest photography exhibition talking about the history of Israel, because we didn't have so much history, you know, because it's a young country. So those were, I think we were the first, in Hebrew there's a saying like the first sparrow or something. I'm not sure the right word for this bird, but the first, you know, when you see that bird, you see, okay, that's the beginning of the autumn, for example. So it's a phrase that we have in Hebrew. I'm not sure if you have it in English, but this was it. The first, this exhibition that my mom and my grandma made to the honor of my grandfather was so big and so successful that after this one, you discovered more and much many photographers that was active in the same years and talking about the history of Israel. But since my grandfather had such a huge collection of photographs, it was really, for me, that was the first time I understood the meaning and the importance and the significance of his work, and that the fact that he dedicated his life to documenting and creation of beautiful moments. So when I was a child, I lived in like a small town outside of Tel Aviv, like 20 minutes from Tel Aviv. You can call it suburbs, but it's an independent town called Ra'anana. And this was my father's hometown. My mom, she grew up in Tel Aviv. So, and I grew up in Ra'anana, and we used to visit my grandparents, her parents, every, I think, few months in their shop. I mean, we used to see them almost like every 2 weeks, but visiting them in the shop and getting to know what they're doing was only every few months. So I have these vague memories of coming there, always taking our portraits on the famous bench where Ben Gurion and Golda and Rabin and Peres all sat, which is just behind me, by the way. We keep it. I almost sat on it, but I was too tall, so. But it's really behind me. It's for me, it's like one of the vintage pieces that I have to keep for the rest of the life of this place. So anyways, we used to go there, and I just remember the experience entering, saying hi, but feeling not really welcome because they were in the middle of the work. You know, when you go visit someone while they're working, so they're happy to see you, but maybe they just want to keep on doing their work. That was the atmosphere, more or less. And my grandfather, I remember him working in the lab and taking out some little chemical papers
Mhm.
and giving it to us and tell us to put it in the sun and put some stuff on it like staples and all and see how the sun burns. You know, it's called I forgot the name now, but it's like a very basic photography that you do. So he just want us to be to do something and leave him alone. That was the feeling. I we had like a very warm family. So I knew them well. I met them, as I said before, like a few times a month, but still I didn't have any special connection with them. The first time I had a special connection with one of them was with my grandma when I started working in the shop. And it also was like a very long process. So I knew my grandfather. He died when I was 15. I didn't know him as a grown up. I think and I feel that I know him more today because I'm running what he left, and I'm knowing from the insides. Like I see his body of work, and I know so much about his decisions and his taste, and I feel that I, as a grown up, know him more from his work and less from my childhood memories.
Yeah, thank you. You're answering again so many of our questions for you. Tell us about Ben. Tell us about going into the family business. Was this a dream that you had, or how did this come about that you would now be running Prior Photo House? You've told us a little bit, but was this your halom and your miksoa, your dream and your profession, or what were the steps that got you to running Prior?
So no, it wasn't my dream. I didn't know so much about photography when I started working here. As I mentioned before, I studied arts and humanities, and I worked in computers. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was older. But then life happened, and I um, I moved to Tel Aviv, and I started to getting to know my grandma better. So I found a friend. First it started like that. I found a friend, a very old friend that's 63 years older than me. But she was a genuine friend. She was paying attention to my questions. She was very honest and open, telling me about her life. She was never boring. She always kept me alert with her sharp mind and taking really interest in what's happening in my life, having tons of criticism against me, but in a very like warm and loving way. And she was also like a surprise for me because I grew up knowing that she was very mean and cold and cheap and never give anything to anyone and never wanted to and never had any friends and wasn't loved. And I think that a lot of people got hurt from her and didn't know how to get along with her. She had a very strong and dominant character. And with me, I just never met those aspects in her
Mhm.
personality. She was always very happy to see me and very warm, and I loved to touch her and to hug her and to talk to her. And like I think one of the first time we met, she took me to a restaurant and she invited me food, and like all my stereotypes got like broken, you know, in my head one after another. And I very fast I decided, okay, I have to judge myself. This situation, it's not the person I was told. So we have our own encounter. And
Who told you that? Who told you all that
um,
about Safta Miriam?
It was like a lot of people. I heard it from a lot of people. I heard it from my mom. My mom and her was very, very connected. My mom really loved her, but she was also very. She got hurt from her in her earlier years. So she used to tell me like painful stories about her childhood, about. And I remember things that I've saw in my own eyes. I remember being very angry about my grandma, the way she treated my mom, the way she treated my dad. But with me, it was different. Even when we used to fight, and sometimes we fought, and I even remember one big fight we had, we made peace the same day, like a good married couple, like really good friends. We never left things open. We never left bitter taste in our souls, towards one each other. And we always wanted to love each other, I guess. And so that was I think the main reason that caught me in this place. And add to that, you can say that I really love all things. I love mysterious atmosphere and to discover things, which this place contains tons of it. I
Yes.
love taking care of something and make it more and more pretty and beautiful and put a lot of energy in it, and like the best of my knowledge. So for me, it was like a diamond in the rough, like something I need to discover and I need to polish a little bit, not too much. I need to learn. And I think I grew up here. So it wasn't my intention, it wasn't my dream. I never imagined that I would be running this place, like never in my life. I imagined that photography was strange, not strange because I love all kinds of art, but it was not something I knew or professional in, never. And I studied photography after I started working here. And I started to take interest in photographers and works and creating my own exhibitions and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about this, and it's not like the main aspect of the reason I'm here. I think I'm connected to this place from a different angle. Like it's part of me, it's part of my identity,
Yeah.
and I took it upon my shoulders. It was not an easy decision, not at all. My grandma wanted me to promise her that I'll always be responsible for this business, which doesn't make tons of income to the least. Like it's very hard to make a living from an old photography shop. It's a niche of the niche. It's like really challenging, and but I love it. I think what she and I had was like like we emerged together, or I don't know how to explain it in English. It's hard for me to find the words, but what we did together was preparing the grounds for me to continue in the most natural way. So I'm not doing someone else's dream. It's not my feeling. I don't feel that I'm doing what she wanted. I feel that this place is mine now, and I'm full of respect both to her and my grandfather. I learned very thoroughly the things that were important for her and for him, and I honor and respect that always. But I can express myself here and I can dream, and for me it's like a fertile ground for my dreams, and I don't know where it will go now. We're now moving to back to the old location, to the original location, and I have like a lot of fantasies about reopening the photography studio there. So when you're coming next to Israel. I don't know when. If we're there, you can come and take your portrait, for example. It's something that you don't see anymore because everyone has their own phones now and their own cameras. So this is how I became in
Well,
this
it's
place. Yeah.
beautiful how you're innovating and taking what they left for you and you're creating something that's old and modern at the same time. So kol hakavod. How did Miriam feel about the final cut of the film? Do you think that it adequate or it accurately portrayed her? Did she feel that?
That's a funny question because first time she saw it was after those 7 years of taking her, like shooting her all the time, and we never saw the materials. We really trusted the director, and we never asked to see or approve any of the materials, which is something that I always admire the director for, because we really 100% trusted her. And it's not so common. And then the rough cut was done, and she invited us for the first time to see the film. And my grandma, she was already not 100%. Remind you that she passed away 2 months after the film was released, and I'm talking about a month before that.
Okay.
So she was really approaching the end of her life, almost 98. And it was the same time as now, like around 9 or 8 p.m. And we started to watch the film. And I think, and Tamar, the director, just tried to imagine after 7 years, showing her finally the fruit of her work. And my grandma is falling asleep after 5 minutes. And she sleeps the whole film. And when she finally wakes up, I think it was the roller or something. And she wakes up and she has opinion. She has something to do about the film. She has something to say about the film, of course. And she's telling Tamar, I find it interesting, but I don't know if anyone else will. That was her first comment. And then we went to I'm jumping a month afterwards for the premiere of the film in the documentary festival of Tel Aviv called Doc Aviv. The first screening of this film, of Life in Stills, and my grandma can't stay in the theater venue. After like 5 minutes when the film starts, she had like a huge panic attack, and her caregiver has to take her home. And like 300 people are watching the premiere, the film, and she's not there. And only, I think in the second time that we screened it there, she was present the whole time. And that was the first time. And I think the only time, because I told you, like she died like very recently afterwards, that people imagine that you're watching the film and she's there, and the film ends and people like getting up from their chairs, clapping to her honor, coming one after another to shake her hand and to tell her. And even if she didn't get all the nuance from the film because she was already very, very tired, like tired from life, she understood the amounts of like love that were flowing towards her. So I think she felt that very, I don't know, complete or happy or satisfied, or like very positive feelings for sure, because it was very, very powerful and unique. It was only one time that it happened, but it happened there in the theater venue. And the film won like the first prize of that competition.
So I have a few more questions, and then I'm going to open it up to the Kal. Speaking of love, tell us about your children. You have 2. How old are they? have they seen the film about their great grandmother? And has it given them a greater understanding of their lineage and their history in Israel?
So my kids are 4.5. They are twins,
Oh, okay.
Ari and Ellie, a boy and a girl, and I'm crazy in love with them. And I'm so in love with them that I can't even talk about them. And I
No.
hate when people ask me to show their photos. It's like I protect them, and
Of
I
course.
really, I love them so much. And they're too young
Oh, yes.
for this
I didn't
film.
realize they were
And
4.5.
I don't know what's the right age, because since the film is touching a very sensitive and delicate,
Yeah.
like the family tragedy, which is, so they grow up knowing that I had parents, and I talk about my parents as grandma and grandpa, and I call them by their names, and I'm telling them tons of stories about them, but they never saw them. So they know something, and they're way far too young to be able to watch and understand. But one day maybe the film will give me a service, and it will be easier maybe for me to expose them to this. I'm not sure.
Well, Mazal Tov on Eli
Toda.
Ari Eli Amata?
Yeah.
Eli?
Yeah.
Okay. And you and Ofer are still together, correct?
Yeah.
Ophir? I love
Yeah,
it.
Phil.
So then, two quick questions, and then we'll have, I'm sure our audience has questions. So Ben, tell us, where are the 1 million historical negatives now, and are they being stored in a safer place rather than in Safta's cupboard?
So Safta used to hold only the original negatives, the 26 negatives of the Declaration of the State of Israel, like the highest peak of my grandfather's career,
Yes.
documenting Ben Gurion declaring the country, which is referring to what happened today in the government. Yeah, now it's funny because after the film was released, one day Tamar, the director, she came to me and she asked me, please tell me that like you got it and now you put it in a safe. And I told her, actually, I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
And she told me, okay, now you're going to do it now. And okay, so it's stored now in a safe. We have backups of the original negatives, and it's safe.
Okay.
And it's, even the government has their own copy, just in case. And the rest of the million negatives are stored here in the shop. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources to have it stored in the right climate condition control, like you're supposed to, which costs a lot of money to hold refrigerators with moisture control and temperature control. But it's fine. I mean, if a bomb won't fall too close to the store, it will maybe last for many more years.
Bezrat Hashem. So were the thieves who broke into Safta Miriam's apartment ever found and apprehended? No. All right, last direct question for you before we open it up. What projects do you currently have in the works, and how has COVID affected Prior? So what are your projects going forward now that things are back open for you?
Mm-hmm. So the most exciting project that we're now having is moving back to the original location of the photo house. We've been evacuated from the old place 10 years ago. We're supposed to be back in 3. They have a huge delay of 7 years, and I guess it will be more. We already renovated the old new shop. We have it amazing design, and also like a touch of old and new, and lots of space, and we're having a gallery there. and a place to show films and teach about the craft of photography and many other things that you can include in under this subject of photography. And also we already have all the equipment for portrait studio, which is, for me, it's very exciting because it's something I could actually do. I love doing portraits. I love taking photographs of people sitting in front of me, getting to know them a little bit, talking to them, and then trying to catch something and make them happy. We used to do it in the old place. That's my grandfather's tradition, and I can't wait to be able to continue that. We need space for that. In this shop that you see behind me, this is the space of the shop. It's tiny, and we can't have a studio here. So we're working on that, but it still takes time, and we don't know when it will. Everything is almost ready, but things are behind my control. There is a lot of building issues that doesn't have to do anything with me, but I'm totally dependent on it. It can take another few months or maybe a year. We are now suing them for the longest delay ever, and I hope we will win. I mean, we didn't do anything wrong. We were supposed to be there already, and they won't let us. And for the future of this place, I feel it's super important that we'll go back and be able to become what we're supposed to be. So this is my main, this is where most of my energy goes now. And also we are just about in a week or two, come up with a new website with much more images to share with our visitors, which is super exciting for me as well, because this is the other side of the coin, to be able to expose the most from my grandfather's body of work, which people are not familiar with. Everybody knows the same maybe 20 photographs that became iconic, like the streets of Tel Aviv, the Declaration of the State, the city swimming pool, but there are so many beautiful, emotional, artistic images that he took, that this is my way to be able to share it with the rest of the world. And so that's my next, these are two present projects that we're working on.
What a gift. Well, I can tell you we'll all be coming straight to Prior Photo House when we land at Ben Gurion.
Yeah,
we're coming to see you. And by the way, you are always welcome in San Diego. There's lots of people. Come stay with us, bring the twins. We'd love to have you and Ophir.
They were born in Oregon. They were born in Oregon. And our medical mediator was from San Diego. So we heard so much about San Diego, and we always chose a clinic there, and then we went to Oregon. I've never been there, but I sure want to take my twins to show them the country they were born in. And so the thing I tell them now is that both me and Ophir, we are telling them that they were born in the redwood forest, because they're born in Grants Pass, which is, I don't know if you know it, but it's a beautiful town where people come to hike, and it's in the center of a redwood forest. But for them, it's probably, they think they're born surrounded with trees. So,
and fairies, right? Fairies and woodland animals. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you talk about your children, you just start glowing. It's really beautiful. So I want to thank you, Ben. I want to open this up. If you've got questions, and if you do have a question, please turn on your camera for that portion so we can see you. Who would like to ask Ben a question about something that we have not yet covered? He's given us a wealth of information.
I have a question.
Beth.
Ben, did the director of the film give or gift you all of the footage, even what was not used for the film?
It's a lot. It's I can have access to it. I don't have it physically here, just from technical reasons. Tomorrow, if I want, I can. We're very close to each other. You have to understand, it's 250 hours of raw materials.
Right.
It's a lot. It's like
No, of course. I just thought it might be interesting
yeah.
for you to have and for your children
for
to
sure.
have.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But I think I need more time
Yeah.
to be curious, to dig in my past. And I don't know if I'll ever do that,
Right.
but I know it's there.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Anybody else have a question for our guest of honor?
Sue Hermes.
Sue Hermes.
So it seemed the first time that your grandmother went to your apartment, it was really difficult for her to get up there. Did she ever visit you again at your apartment?
No.
Too
That was
hard
the
to get.
only- Yeah, that was the only time that she came there. I remember I took her there in my car, and the street was under renovation, so it was also hard to walk on the
Yes.
sidewalk. But she was very, like, she never felt sorry for herself. She loved to, to talk, like to say things as like to complain, but she never felt sorry for herself. She preferred always to do things than not doing things, like to go for the challenge and to try. And she loved to be in center of attention when she was really when she came to my house, and she loved being fed. So she had a good lunch, and I took her back. It was a nice visit, but yeah, it was too difficult because climbing, like, I think 3 staircases. Yeah. And she had like very bad knees. But you don't see it in the film, but it took us a lot of time to climb. We did it very, very slowly, very slowly.
I figured some of that was cut. So.
Yeah.
To get her up there.
Correct.
Thank you. Who else has a question for Ben? Yes, Sue Braun.
Do you still live in the same apartment?
No, we moved. We have now our own house, a few streets from there. And we love it. We love it. We live in a mixed neighborhood, Arabs and Jewish, and it's a very, very old neighborhood of Jaffa. It's where the old fishermen used to have the little houses, and now it's like becoming a beautiful spot because all the little houses have like a view of the sea. We don't, but it's still, our house is 250 years old, and yeah, it's amazing. And you see, I love old things, and I love to feel the energy in the house. I love to have a house with character. I love it when the walls and the ceiling and the floor, everything full of stories and history. I can breathe like that. So we really love our house now. It's different from that old apartment in Jaffa, which was also beautiful, but it's more suitable for us.
I have just one follow-up question. Do you have any relationship with a museum? Has any museum approached you or anything like that in terms of saving your stuff forever?
Not a museum. We had the Tel Aviv University asked to keep the archive, like to buy the entire collection. It was prior to my time here. It was when my mom was involved in the shop. I just learned about it a few years afterwards, and my grandma, she refused to do that, and I'm so happy because the university wanted to to buy the collection, and then like, you know, where you have in museums or in universities, you have like a donation of a collection, and then the students can study, right? And for me, it's like a terrifying thought to think about our entire collection, like the most sacred thing in the shop. Like nobody can touch, for example, in my shop, no client can have even access to the cabinet where we store all the old negatives, because it's such delicate materials. And imagining this standing in like a public room or basement in a university, when no one has a personal approach to it, and then students taking things and like, oh, I will return it tomorrow. I imagine horrible things happening to the archive. And I know that this is a huge collection that was kept so well just because it was always held by first degree family, you know, keeping it, loving it, taking care of it. This is the reason. Once you'll take it out of here, I'm sure it will be destroyed this way or another. So I'm happy that my grandma didn't agree to sell or donate it to any museum or university or even collectors and around the world. She had a lot of offers.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Anybody else have a last question? Gila.
Really quick, I know you mentioned that you're going back to the original spot of the store. When will that happen, and how long do you think it will be before you're completely ready to have people come in?
So it can happen any month now. As I said before, it's a part of a big project, like 3 buildings that were destroyed and rebuilt from scratch. Our shop was part of it, and it was supposed to be preserved, but from and the city architect mistake, it didn't happen. It's a long story. I won't get into it now, but this is the reason that the shop was destroyed to begin with. It was not supposed to be destroyed, but maybe it's for the best, because it's done. The building is now done and the shop is ready. And if they tell me that next month I move in, I'm ready to move in. Even though I love the place that I'm sitting in now, it's beautiful, it's cozy, it's full with atmosphere, and you enter, you smell the negatives. I'm sure you will feel the same in the old new place, but it has some complications that it's very hard for me to experience. To tell you the truth, it's boring. It's just a bunch of people that are very bad in managing building projects. That's the bottom line. And they took a beautiful project and did all, and even more than all, the mistakes a manager can do, choosing the wrong builders and the wrong professionals. And this is how we came up like 10 years after and still not be able to move in. And there are 40 families that already bought apartments in those buildings and can't enter their apartments just because of this ridiculous project. So I'm waiting. And every time they tell me now, it's like next month, and this being like that for years. So I'm staying very optimistic, and clients often ask me this, and I'm telling them maybe next month, maybe in six months, maybe this year, 2021. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe by the time Mashiach arrives, you'll be in your new place, right?
Yeah.
Any last question for Ben?
I do. Ben,
Yes,
are
Beth.
other members of your family involved in the business?
No, it's only me. So my grandparents used to have 7 grandchildren. Each one is doing their own thing, and all are very successful and having their careers. And I'm the only one who like end up here. And as I said before, it's not something I was dreaming of. It's not, and it took me a lot of years to understand and to take it upon myself. I grew up to become the owner of the photo house. It's hard for me even to say these words. It feels too big, but this is how I feel now. This is what I do. I devoted my life to it, and no one else, like my siblings, everyone is doing something else. They all love the photo house. They support us. They are very excited that they have this thing in the family. They are proud of it. But no one ever. I had one cousin that I really love, and I think he's very. He looks like my grandfather, and he's super talented. And he's a video editor, and he's a great photographer. So he's the only one that really had the right, connection and the characteristics to become my partner with this business, but he chose a different path and he's now living in New York. Maybe one day, I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Anyone else have questions? Because Ben has covered so many of our inquiries and our thoughts about the photo house and Prior, and I just can't thank you enough for your generosity of spirit in talking to us. It's been amazing. And as I said, and this is not an exaggeration, you have people in San Diego. We will take you around, we'll show you the beach, we will host you, we will feed you and your family. You have a place in San Diego. We fell in love with you and Safta Miriam when we saw the film. And am I exaggerating, Beth?
No, not at all, Ben. I think and we talked about it, how there were so many layers of the film that were beautiful and meaningful. And each of us talked about, stepping back and recalling our own memories of our grandparents and those very special relationships. And like I said, for a whole group of Jews to agree on one film was in itself a miracle. But spending this time with you, I think gave us greater connection to the film, certainly greater insight to you and your grandmother. And we're very, very grateful.
So
we would take your kids to Legoland if you came. They would
Wow.
love it.
but we'll
And
probably
you're
see
welcome to
you.
Boston as well. I'm
Yeah,
in Boston. but-
We'll see you in Israel where, I mean, I
Okay.
just can't believe.
God.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
again, the information for the shop is on our website. Do please enjoy it. Go shopping. We
Yes.
did record it, and this will get up on our YouTube channel. And I will speak to Ellen about having the film available in our library as well, because I think it's an important piece, obviously for us, but for the greater congregation, as well as some of our teens to see this,
Yes,
this important piece. So Ben, again, thank you. Lila Toe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Toda
Have a good day.
rabah.
Bye. Toda.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you. Bye.
I hope you
Bye.
all enjoyed. Have a
Oh,
great rest of the
We
day.
did. We
Incredible.
did.
Sure.
All
It was
right.
great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Love you
Bye.
guys. Bye.